Hello and welcome to the show today. I am entering my 7th season hosting the show, and nothing I love more than hearing from viewers who are appreciating what I share. And nothing I love even more than that is a viewer reaching out wanting to share his or her story on the show. So thank you, Russ Hepler, for reaching out to me as a viewer of the show and wanting to share your story with our viewers. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And I also enjoy a local story. So you're a local guy here. You have been here for a very long time, and some people might know you as the owner of HG Designs since 1974, you said.
Yes, that's when it started.
So let's talk a little bit about, we're going to get to why you reached out to me, but let's let everyone get to know you a bit. So you are an artist. In fact, the painting behind you is
Right.
your, and we're going to share work throughout the show. So you're an artist, a local business owner. Tell us about your business, HG Designs, that you founded here in 1974.
Right, November 22nd.
So we're
1924. Yeah, I had a partner. He was the G, and he was a commercial artist here in town, and he went to the Art Center School in Los Angeles, which is one of the premier art schools for commercial art. So anyway, in 1974, we did commercial art for all the printing companies in Wenatchee. Chelan County PUD was one of our accounts, Washington State Apple Commission, Michelson Packaging, Boise Cascade, and whoever needed any artwork done, we did most all of it from through until the computer started.
And so did you make that transition with your business when computers came to the forefront of doing the kind of business you do?
No, because about that time my partner retired, and I was more into the interior design and space planning, color coordination, and architecture.
You made a pivot then at that time in your business.
Yeah, pretty much switched that direction. And then we also had a physical store where we sold office furniture and some residential furniture and window covers and carpeting, that kind of stuff.
So you've done a few things.
Right. We had a drapery manufacturing business too, called Fabritex. Yeah.
So which of those would you say you enjoyed more?
Well, I kind of liked doing the commercial interior design, space planning, and then specifying all the furniture and doing all the layouts and the drawings and that kind of stuff.
So you were part of the architecture from the beginning, or you'd come into a building that was already designed and decide how that room was going to look once it's finished?
Both. We got involved before the architect, and then we would do all the drawings, floor plan drawings, and then we would plan where all the furniture went. And so we kind of built the outside went along with the inside. Is what it is.
I like to do little, small projects in my house, maybe just change the look of a room, thinking about knocking out an entire wall and changing everything. But one of the things I enjoy is seeing the before and after. So one person's vision and then it changes to another vision. So you've probably seen a lot of that in your time where you take a room, that's why they hire you, right? They have no idea what to do with the space, and then you create what you create, and then it all makes sense in the room.
Right. But, I did more commercial than I did residential. I did residential for a while, but I enjoyed the commercial aspect for like we did, the hospital. We did a bunch of work in there, sold them all the draperies for every room in that hospital.
Oh, wow.
We did a bunch of work for all of the banks in Wenatchee. We did a lot of that. The Wells Fargo Bank, which used to be Central Washington Bank when it started, that used to be Whitman School.
Oh.
We did the whole interior for that place.
Whitman School in Walla Walla?
No, here in Wenatchee.
But it was here.
Yeah, it's right. It's right on Wells Fargo Bank. It's right on.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Here. Got it. Okay, got it. I'm following you now. So then how you, so someone who designs rooms, whether they're commercial or not, it has this creative side. And at
Right.
what point in that did you begin your artistic work, like the piece we see behind you?
Yeah, that particular painting was done in 1969.
So you were doing that kind of work along with the other work you were doing.
Right. Originally, that was part of my master's thesis. That was the last painting in the master's thesis, the one behind me.
Got it.
I think it was called A New Beginning.
Mhm.
Anyway, because I'm an abstract expressionist. So you paint your emotions and your feelings.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
What were you
So,
feeling in that painting, you suppose? Do you remember?
well, maybe it was just a lot of relief from being done with school.
Yeah.
This last painting in the sequence. See, you have to do a show, and then you have to write a thesis, a book, and then all of the painting, everything is get published in that. And then you have to have a show at the college,
Did you in school, college?
Yeah, I went to Central Washington University.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let's take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about the reason you reached out to me, the part of your story that you wanted to share, which is a little bit of a cautionary tale, perhaps, to our viewers about getting to your doctor a little sooner maybe than you did. That's
Right.
part of the message we're sharing here today, and also your continued work in our community. So we're talking with Russ Hepler. He is a local guy here in Wenatchee, gentleman, and he reached out to me watching the show, and we're going to share his story in the next segment. Continued. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back. We're talking with Russ Hepler. He's a gentleman here in Wenatchee. He watches the show and reached out to me to share this part of his story with you. And I wanted to also include the artistic side of his story. Thanks again for reaching out. Thanks for being here. One of the things that you and I talked about in preparation for the show was you being a healthy man for most of the years of your life, and you having signs of illness, but thinking I'm a healthy guy, so nothing's probably wrong with me. Can you want to start from the beginning where you started to have symptoms, or how far back do you think it goes when you were sick but didn't yet know it?
Well, I like to play golf a lot. So I was down in Scottsdale. My son has a golf business down there. So we were playing golf, and we had to walk the course. Heaven forbid if you have to walk. So, because it had rained, and they wouldn't let you have a cart.
Oh.
So, and I could hardly walk around the thing.
Like you were feeling fatigue, or you felt so?
Yeah, felt fatigue, but I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was, because I was like, 74 or something or whatever.
So you thought walking the golf course was a little bit of work?
Well, yeah, after, 18 holes was a bunch of work.
Sure.
But I really didn't have any issues until September. Let's see, when was it? March, I guess it was, of 2017. And I ended up being diagnosed in the ER with stage 4 bladder cancer.
Well, let's take a step back, because other than the fatigue, what symptoms were you having, and how long did they last before seeing a physician?
Just some fatigue. See, the only way I ended up seeing a physician was because I had, and and then I still felt all right, and the fatigue kind of went away, and I just ended up finding out, that because you only have bladder cancer, what happens is I don't know how graphic you want me to get about that.
Okay.
Well, okay. So when you urinate, okay, usually it's normal. Okay, well, mine was kind of a gray, or not gray, but orange colored.
Mm-hmm.
And I, figured, well, maybe somebody forgot to flush the toilet. So
Right.
I didn't worry about it, right? And then that night,
Mhm.
about 10 o'clock, then all of a sudden you have blood clots coming out,
Okay.
and it gets pretty bad after that.
So that was the fatigue. Perhaps I think what happens as a person who's also survived cancer is it isn't until after you're diagnosed that you look back and go, oh, that wasn't quite right. And that wasn't
Right.
quite right. I mean, obviously the blood in your urine is the big sign, but things that were like the fatigue, now it all makes sense, right? Now you have an explanation for it. And
I didn't pay much attention to the fatigue because I figured,
yeah,
it would go away, maybe I just was tired that day,
so
from
you went
flying.
to the ER as soon as that happened then.
Yeah, I went there at 10:30 at night.
Okay, so you went right away. Oh, that's right away. I mean, it's in the same day.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are some people who might even be watching who've had some kind of thing going on that they are ignoring or trying to ignore that goes on for weeks and weeks or months and months. Early detection is always important. So you went into the ER, and at what point in that testing did they tell you that you had bladder cancer as advanced as you had it?
Well, they did a CT scan on me, and my blood pressure went to like 286 over 100 and something, and I was pretty upset. Because I didn't want to be sick, and really it upset me. So they told me that night,
Pressure was because you were because of your emotions.
that, and maybe the fact that I was,
Mhm.
had a lot of blood clots
Sure.
coming out. So they put me on a bunch of IVs of water,
Mhm.
flushed me out, and so I actually got better. The blood pressure came back to normal,
Right.
and about 3:30 in the morning, I went home. I was living by myself, so they said you better get in and see your urologist tomorrow. So I went to Wenatchee Valley Clinic, Confluence Health now, and saw a urologist, and he looked at everything, and he told me that I had, stage 4 bladder cancer, and I needed to have my bladder removed.
Hmm.
Okay, so then he said, well, come back in a couple weeks and we'll talk about it. Because at that time I wasn't having any more symptoms, everything was clear again. So then I had to go to a seminar down in Pasco, and then it all came back, so I had to drive home. And so then I went in and to the ER again, and just happened to be the same urologist was there. So they scraped the bladder,
Mhm.
okay?
Mhm.
And that helped for a while, but then it just all came back and got worse.
So you ended up going to Virginia Mason and having a pretty radical surgery
Right, I did.
where they built another cavity in your body, basically, to act as your bladder.
Right. Yeah, that was a big deal. I mean, here, this is March we're talking about, right? April. And so I went over, and I had a friend who went to Virginia Mason anyway, so he helped me find the right doctor. So then I went over there because they do all what I needed done every week. I
Right.
mean, a couple times a week. And in Wenatchee, they didn't necessarily do it as often. So anyway, my insurance would cover anything, so that's why I went to Virginia Mason.
Right. And so when you had, so you went through surgery, did you go through treatment as well, or the surgery took care of the problem?
Prior to treatment, because I was, what do you call it, in denial,
Mhm.
because I talked to the guy and he said, well, I feel great now. I don't have any symptoms. I feel good. So I was in denial
Mhm.
until I went over there in June. And then I went and met with them again, and they told me that it would be a rather horrible death if I didn't do something, because they would only give me 6 months
Mhm.
to live at that time. So, but in the meantime, they found that they did another CT scan. They said, well, let's just check it one more time before we scheduled the surgery because they had scheduled the surgery sometime the end of June, okay, after I was there in May or whenever it was. Anyway, at that time, they found a couple spots in my lung, okay? So the biopsy showed that I had some spots in the lung. So then I had to go through chemotherapy, and then that reduced everything, made it feel better, and then they pushed the surgery back until November.
So as part of the lesson here too, is that, I mean, you went to the ER as soon as you noticed the blood, and then you say you went through a period of denial. And the
Right.
thing is that when you feel good, you want to believe that everything's going to be okay. But in
Yeah,
your case, and in some cases of people watching, there's evidence that it's not okay, like that
correct.
something needs to be done. And fortunately, you had the symptoms you had. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gone just from the fatigue. You would have assumed as a 70-plus-year-old man, you just felt tired sometimes. And so
Right.
you ended up going through chemotherapy, and you had the radical surgery in November. And that was in 2017. And so in 18 and 19, all cancer-free. And then you had some problems 2 years ago. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I didn't have any problems. They just did another CT scan, you know,
And found something
and
else.
they found that it had the cancer had metastasized, which means it moved out of the body and got into the fatty tissue around where the bladder
Out of its
and,
original place.
yeah,
Right.
and the prostate. So they, they took out the bladder, the prostate, and chunk of the lung. So,
Okay.
but if I had not procrastinated and been in denial, then it probably wouldn't have gotten out. And they would have done the surgery in June instead of November,
Right.
the end of November.
So that's the lesson. It's in most situations, sometimes you don't get the warning. Sometimes
No.
you don't get a scan until it's much later. So that's the lesson, right? If something like that happens,
Right.
see your doctor, and you went and got the opinions you needed, and they gave you their opinion, and you still waited a little while. So let's not do that.
No.
If you're
No,
watching, let's not do that.
yeah.
It's really hard. I hate my checkup every year. Hate's a big
Right.
word, and I hate it. I'm really tough about 360 days of the year, and those 5 days, I'm pretty much a mess, and everyone who knows me well knows it. But let's take a break. I want to come back and talk about what you gifted Virginia Mason for their good care of you. So let's take a break. We're talking with Russ Hepler right here, local gentleman here in Wenatchee. We'll be back in just a moment. We're talking with Russ Hepler, Wenatchee gentleman who watches the show and reached out to share his story as a cautionary tale to those who are watching who may have some health crises that they're ignoring, health symptoms, even if they're small ones. I encourage you to see your doctor sooner than later. You shared that you did have a recurrence in 2019, and right now you are part of a 2-year treatment plan that you go to. You have treatment every 3 weeks. Your scans are clear, and you work together with your doctors here in Wenatchee and in Virginia Mason, and they coordinate that so you can do your treatments here too, especially during the winter. So
Right.
so far your scans are clear, and you're part of a study to see that this new treatment's working for you. How are you feeling?
Well, I feel okay. It makes you a little tired.
Mhm.
And one of the symptoms is that sometimes your joints get sore.
Mhm.
My fingers get sore, the muscles, tendons, in my hands. And I get a little tired after the infusion, but other than that, I'm okay.
Yeah, and you're staying active in our community. Let's
Right.
talk about, I want to get to that when we close up, but we're down to 5 minutes here. So Virginia Mason, you wanted to show them your appreciation. So you donated 2 paintings, one that they chose from your master's program, and
Right.
one that you painted that was current, that you painted specifically for them. And what was that painting that you specifically painted for them? how was that different from any painting you'd done before, having survived all you've survived and gifting this hospital that helped saved your life?
No, it was similar to the one in the background.
Yeah.
Except the colors were, Virginia Mason's colors are blues and greens.
Mhm.
Kind of like
You talked
Seahawk.
about how you're an abstract painter, so your emotions come through it. So
Right,
that
and
experience any different for you, or has your painting, just the time that you spend in it, changed at all since you're a survivor now? Has it, your perspective?
well, you know, I'm now I'm not quite as detaily. You know, as you get older, you become less detailed
Mhm.
and more abstract.
Yeah,
I used to do a lot of realism a long time ago, but I'm not doing much of that anymore.
yeah.
But most of my paintings now are real minimal.
Mhm.
Minimalistic is the best word for it, because they're more like flat colors with some textures, and they're really pretty emotional paintings. And
That's,
they're larger than
yeah.
the one behind me, you know, and it's hard to get an art show in Wenatchee where you can show a painting that's 5 by 10 feet. Okay.
Yeah,
They don't have the space. Right?
it's just the real estate, right?
Right. Well, and I have one right now in the museums
Oh, good.
for an art show right now.
That's wonderful. Well, I also wanted to talk about, we have just a couple minutes here, but one of the things that you said to me when we were talking on the phone yesterday is how active you've remained in our community, because staying active has really helped you stay well, to feel better, and to be part of something every single day. And tell us real quickly how you are still contributing to our community.
Well, other than doing interviews on the radio for Two Rivers Art Gallery. And I'm the vice president there, and I'm in charge of all the intake and all the paintings and all the hanging the shows and that type of thing. So that takes up a bunch of time. And then I'm on the board there, being the vice president. Anyway, then also I'm the president of the Robert Graves Gallery, which used to be Gallery 76. And I've been involved with that almost from the inception when it started.
Mm-hmm.
They actually came to us. This Bob Graves came to me because I was a student of his a long time ago.
Oh.
Anyway, he came and we designed the logo for the original gallery. So I've been the president there off and on numerous times over the years. And I'm currently the president.
So what is your advice to people right now who, a lot of people feel like there isn't a lot of places to go or a lot of things to do, or we are definitely restricted, but you're still finding a way to stay active? I mean, I'm guilty of it. I work at home, and sometimes I just have to get out. I have to just literally at least take my laptop and work from a different table somewhere outside, so that I feel like and I get out there and I see, you know, there's a bustling community. There's still people out there doing their jobs and connecting and making a life. So what is your advice to people in the last 30 seconds that we have here?
Well, you need to be busy. Stay busy, okay? Because I like to hit golf balls. So I go play golf quite a bit, maybe in the summer, maybe a couple times a week or more. And then I like to walk, you know.
Stay
I don't ride a bicycle anymore. I got rid of it. But, I volunteer a lot, doing different things like that.
Well,
But you gotta stay busy.
I appreciate you reaching out, and I appreciate you sharing your story and thinking of this as your platform to share it. And I look forward to seeing the work that you continue to create. Thanks for all you do.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for giving me a chance to talk about it.
Take good care.
Alrighty, thanks.